Everywhere we are is everywhere. Start over.
Welcome to Life of the Brand. This is Tyler. I'm Kevin. Thanks for following, liking, and sharing on these platforms right here.
Thanks, Kevin. So today we're going to take a different take on things. I am not picking an article. This is actually a topic that hits close to home because it's one of my favorite new tools. And it's not necessarily new. It's been around a while, but brands aren't really using it. And that would be native advertising.
Native advertising.
So this is a type of advertising. It's online material. It is created with online publications, and it's supposed to resemble the publication's editorial content, but it is paid for by an advertiser and intended to promote the advertiser's product. So a lot of you have seen this, I'm sure, but don't realize you're doing it. Now, There is one outlet in particular that is the leader by far in native advertising. Can you tell me what you think it might be?
I'm going to say, because as with everything else in social sharing and engagement, I'm going to go with Facebook.
Spot on. Now, how is Facebook native advertising, you may ask? Well, when ads are placed within your newsfeed, they look as if they were a post that you would normally see. Mm-hmm. Even though it says sponsored, which is required, it still appears to be an actual organic post. Yeah. So it has that appearance, and it's actually improved click-through rates. In 2018, it is projected that $21 billion is expected to be spent on native advertising.
Dang. And that includes the Facebook and then also everywhere else on the internet that it is, right?
Right.
Okay.
Now here's another crazy stat. People talk about TVs dying, all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It is just the money's being allocated elsewhere, but it's still more money's being spent. So TV ad spending is expected to reach $72 billion. Put those two numbers together, you've almost got $100 billion worth of advertising spending on native and TV
advertising just alone.
Correct. So I have a few stats set up from 2014 through 2020. I'm going to read the current 2017 stats on everything.
Okay.
TV accounts for 35.9% of ad budget, whereas digital accounts for 38.4%. So this is the year that digital took over TV spending.
Oh yeah,
as far as the percentage,
it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And last year it was about 1% behind.
All right.
And 26% of that digital advertising is mobile. Only mobile, strictly mobile.
Wow. Because then last year was also the year that mobile leapfrogged desktop in search queries.
Mm-hmm.
So
and in site traffic is the majority of it comes from mobile, and we see that with clients every day. And we also push all kinds of digital products to clients because they are starting to realize at the same time that we don't need to just be spending on TV, radio, print. We need to get digital in here, and that's where we come up with the phrase tradigital. Now, do you want to tell people what tradigital means?
Tradigital advertising is something we use here at Warehouse 75 Advertising and Griffin Wink, the companies that sponsor our podcast for us, so thank you guys. And it is the culmination of traditional advertising mentality and practices and everything we've learned from advertising up till the digital age, and melding that together with digital advertising to create something that hits prospective customers, audience members on all platforms where they're going to be making decisions, not just on where there's available ad space.
Yeah. So, as we continue through the stats, print media is almost 14%. And the majority of people are still spending their money within newspapers and not magazines.
Yeah. So it's newspapers still hanging on, still being alive, but magazines not so much.
It still plays a role. A lot of people still use newspaper for circulars, for job postings.
Yeah.
And that's still considered advertising because it is paid placement of media.
Yeah.
Next, we go to radio, which is hanging in there at 7%.
All right.
And it's shocking to me that people still want to spend so much money on radio. Now, that doesn't take into account digital radio.
That's true. Digital radio, Pandora, Spotify, yeah.
Those are all included within the digital mobile realm.
Okay.
And then there's out of home, which would be billboards, etc. It's a measly 3.8%. So.
And then direct use coming in at
a little bit less than that.
Yeah, a little less than that. So
you can tell that the big three are TV, digital, and print.
Yeah.
Radio is kind of a distant fourth.
Yeah.
So, as when we present these kind of stats to clients, we want them to know that, hey, these are the places you need to be, and if you're spending more money in these other areas, you are missing opportunities.
And as it relates to native advertising, it's a way that people can personalize their content and put up content that is not only relevant but actually helpful, maybe even educational. Because this is native advertising, so on Facebook it's the sponsored post, but elsewhere you can place on like Forbes, Entrepreneur.com, Business Insider, any of these content aggregators, even all the way down to like BuzzFeed, College Humor, stuff like that.
College Humor. Stay classy, guys.
He used to work for College Humor.
Did.
Bet you didn't know that.
Follow me if you follow College Humor.
But they also pop up as if you scroll down and you're on that right-hand side and it says from the web, and then under that you have the sponsored content, which
now,
I think is interesting.
This content does not live on the site. This is something that I've had to explain lots of times to clients.
You don't pay for the placement on the site itself.
You pay for the placement on the site itself, but when you click the link, it goes to your site. So you gain the traffic. It's really quite clever. You are using the traffic and brand equity of another site to promote yours. And it's an incredibly clever way to disguise your ads, to find the audience you're looking for, because you would be surprised, but these content publishers can actually target. So if I wanted to target just Texas, I could go to a content publisher and say, hey, I want all my impressions to hit in the state of Texas in this time frame at this age group. It's amazing because you can't do that on TV. You can't do that on print. You definitely can't do it on print or radio. And the next thing is, in my opinion, this is way, way, way cheaper because the amount of data and
potential reach from all of this targeting.
Let's say you're a CPC campaign, cost per click. You are still gaining impressions, but you're not paying for those. You're only paying when people click. So you're almost doubling your money, and it's cheaper than placing on a radio or TV station. Is native advertising deceiving to the consumer?
That's a good one. That's always kind of a question for advertising. Is advertising deceiving? Is it is it ethical? Is it like what kind of ethical boundaries does advertising kind of bump up against when it comes to representing a product, representing a company? I think when done properly, it is not deceiving. Ideally, what you want to do with native advertising is you want to deliver it to people who are going to be interested in that content you have. It's not just marketing at them and telling them buy this, buy this, buy this, because as we've talked about before, millennials don't want to do that. And so if a native advertisement provides an article or a link or a product that through research you have determined that your audience, it will actually better your audience's experience online and elsewhere, that's where I think you do native advertising properly, where you give the consumer something that is actually going to help them, not just market at them and say you need this, no clickbait.
Since it can be deceiving to the consumer, but also at the same time it's not, because it's relevant content. So when it is deceiving, does this affect the consumer sentiment towards the brand?
Oh, I think absolutely. If you find a clickbait article or something that's just trying to get you to constantly buy things, it's almost like native advertising encourages you to be relevant and to not be deceiving. There's been, from like eternity past in advertising, if you're towing that line between can I get them to buy this and is this something they actually need? So native advertising, when done properly, can really raise brand sentiment for a brand. But if you don't do it right, it's going to affect your brand. It's the internet. The internet itself and the nature of native advertising encourages you to be upright, forthcoming with the kind of ads that you place because it can affect brand sentiment.
So and then I know we're running out of time here, but I wanted to briefly run over my thoughts on it. I would like to see some sort of regulations put on this. I know the whole fake news thing is coming into play, and that's going to take care of a lot of this. But there are clickbait articles out there, and they come from publications that have a lot of money, and they can outbid smaller agencies and smaller companies that are placing the ad for a real good reason. They're placing it because that's where the audience is. So in the future, I'm hoping to see some regulations, and I think that'll come about, and it'll start to make everything more relevant for people. And hopefully one day, nothing will feel like an ad. Hopefully.
Well, and
that's the dream.
That's a completely separate conversation. Is at what point does that become scary? Because then you will never know whether you're being marketed to or not. But we can talk more on that later.
That would make our jobs 10 times easier. So this is a really easy question, I think. And will this only be sustainable for online publishing companies? So, for example, is this only good for brands like BuzzFeed, or could Griffin Wink or Warehouse 75 take advantage of offering a branded content platform?
Well, that's kind of like what you just talked about. You said like there's issues now with large publications taking up a lot of that space because they can bid higher, they can buy deeper. They've got bigger budgets from their clients. But right now, I think there is kind of a good And again, it all comes down to the targeting. So there's a really good kind of cross section of people who are able to, like us, working for an agency in a medium-sized market, medium-sized client or client base, the ability to buy very locally, very targeted, place ads in a way that our clients will still be able to put that out there on native advertising platforms without having to compete with the campaigns of larger companies, because we're targeting differently, we're bidding differently, and so I think right now we not just large content publishers are able to get on it, and I think even more, like as time goes on, it's going to become even more possible. As with most platforms, Instagram started with just large businesses with their advertising,
and that's even an example of native advertising. That people were placing ads that look like an Instagram post.
Yeah, and that used to just be obvious, the national capabilities. Same with Snapchat. Same with a lot of social media, but. As time goes on, and as the ad platform kind of gets sussed out a little bit, the platform was able to allow for a lot more local ad spend. So
cool.
I think it's good.
Again, this is a product that we are starting to offer, and it's going to be pretty impressive to see the type of site traffic that our clients are going to see, and
I'm
getting those
excited
inbound
for it.
links and all those things. So if you're looking for some native content, other
hit
than
us
that,
up.
I think we can close it out. Don't forget to follow us on all those platforms you saw earlier. We will be back next week, and we will have some great topics. And comment, like, share. Feel free to let us know, hey, what topics do you want to hear about, and we will discuss them. So
what kind of advertising are you curious about? What have you not heard talked about kind of in this way, a little more informally? Let us know, and we'll see you guys next week.
Alrighty.